On today's episode, we'll be learning different techniques on how to catch fish out there on the ice, such as setting up tip-ups for bass, northern, and walleye. Also experiencing the long, tough run after a flag goes up, as well as catching different types of fish, such as bass, bluegills, and yellowfin perch. Most importantly, we will learn how to clean and prepare fish for your dinner table. All that and more coming up on this episode of Ins and Outs of Ice Fishing.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Ins and Outs of Ice Fishing, where we dive deep into different topics each episode and how to catch more fish out there on the frozen lakes. Of course, I'm your host, Bert Lauderdale, and today we'll be taking a look at different methods on how to catch many different species of fish. Also, we'll be looking at how to clean these fish after catching them. Last but not least, we'll be talking to a fishing guide about different advanced techniques you can use to catch all different kinds of fish and possibly get some hints on how you can become a better ice fisherman. First, we started in a lake located near Richville, Wisconsin, where bluegills and perch are known to get really big in size. We started out fishing in about 8 feet of water and moved around a lot, but once we found them, we couldn't stop catching fish even if we wanted to. Let's take a look back at what a great day of ice fishing looks like.
Right here we got a tip up. It's like a unmanned fishing device. You set the flag, got your line in the water, and when a fish comes, pulls the line, the flag goes up, you yell tip up and start running. So to set these things, you have these little depth bombs, just like a piece of lead with a clip on it. Throw it in the water, and then that. So like right there I'm on bottom, I'm gonna mark it. Say I want the bait that far off the bottom. So you reel in all the extra line. Pull the line back up. Get your depth bomb. And today we're using some shiners for bait. Some shiners. Oh. Throw her on the hook. That's how you set up. Throw her in the water. And since today is a pretty cold day, we don't want our holes freezing up. You use these little styrofoam pieces to insulate the hole. So when a flag does go up and you come, your hole ain't froze solid. Just like that, tip up set. Tip up! All right, we got a tip up here. We got a spinner. She's going. fish on. Man, this guy took out a lot of line. There you go. Nice little largemouth bass.
Hey guys, I'm just sort of gonna explain to you what we've been doing here out on the ice. So we've been using these little colorful jig heads, like so. And we've been actually taking a plastic, such as this one, a little smaller profile. Looks like a little bug, perhaps. And you've just been sliding that plastic onto the jig, like so. And then once you have done that, we also take wax worms, such as these, and we have tipped the jigs so that it gives it a little bit more flavor, like so. And then we also, so basically the point, we've been using 3-pound mono, which is very light line, but for bluegills and such, not bad. What you want to do is just keep going like this until you find bottom. Yep, we're at bottom. And then you sit there, you just want to bounce the rod tip up and down like this. And once the fish hits, you'll feel the rod tip go boom, boom, and you'll feel it. And that's when you set the hook and you reel up. You want your drag kind of loose, because if it's tight, the fish might break off easier, or it won't get that reaction, like when it grabs it, it won't get to take it away, and it will grab it and then it will like let go, or you won't get the chance to set the hook. So you want your drag kind of loose. And these are bluegill and like panfish, such as like sunfish, perch, and crappie. So a lot of them don't get over 10 inches is like a good bluegill. So a lot of them don't get over that size. So having 3-pound and just having the drag loose is also very good.
After examining some tip-ups, we decided to fish for some gills in 8 feet of water around some structure. After a long, hard day of fishing, we ended up with a good meal with about 2 bluegills and 2 nice-sized perch. Right before we packed everything up, our last flag decided to go up.
Whoa!
out. Nice little bass. Using shiners for this. So this is what we're using for bait. Just some little shiners. You can see it in its mouth. It's a nice little 13-inch largemouth. Heck yeah. Plop her back down in the hole. Just like that. We're fishing.
Wow, some of those perch look huge compared to some of those bluegills that were caught. Those bass put up a very good fight too. What a day ice fishing it was. Now, you might have noticed that we did end up keeping a couple of those fish. Well, let's take a look at what the operation is for cleaning the fish and getting them ready for your dinner table.
Hi, I'm Mike. We did some ice fishing today on Crystal Lake before the Packers championship game, and we caught some walleye, some perch, and some bluegills, and now we have to clean them. The first thing we got to do is get ready to clean them here. We'll start with one of the bluegills we caught. First thing we got to do is scale them. You got to make sure you get above the head. We caught some nice ones today. It was a little cold, 11 degrees out, but it was sunny out, but we had a good time. All right, next thing you gotta do is sharpen, make sure you got a nice sharp knife. This is a pretty basic sharpener that's available everywhere. Now we're gonna start cutting the fish. You just wanna make sure all the scales are off. You want to cut behind the fin. And you want to go above the head because there's a lot of meat right above the head there. So a lot of people don't do that and waste a lot of meat. Then what we want to do is go along the fin here. You can feel the bones underneath. You can feel where the rib cage stops, cut through, and go all the way down to the tail. Some people like to leave the tails on because they're kind of crunchy when you eat them, and some people leave them off. It's your preference. Go along the rib cage here. And what we're doing is we're filleting, which is how I like to do it. Most people like fillets. There you go. And you just want to check to make sure you don't have any bones. Sometimes you get a couple of bones. There's a couple right there. We'll cut them out. Real easy, and there you go. You got a nice fillet. And you flip it over, do the same thing on the other side. Again, make sure above the head there's a lot of meat there. Behind the fin. Like to go down right behind the rib cage, go across, and then again go down to the tail. And go down the rib cage till you get all the meat out. And there you go, you got another fillet. Again, just double check to make sure you got all the rib bones out of there, and you're good. And this is, as you can see, what you're doing is when you come down the rib cage, where the rib cage stops over here, that's where you want to come down and come through and then go back to the tail. All right, we cleaned a bluegill and we also caught some nice perch. So we're gonna do pretty much the same thing with our perch. Again, the first thing we're going to do is we have to scale them, just like we did the bluegills. They got smaller scales. A little tougher, but basically doing the same thing. And there's different types of scalers, but again, this plastic one that they've come up with seems to work the best. For me anyways. And make sure you have a nice sharp knife right behind this fin here. You cut and go up above the head. Yeah. Behind the top fin. Cut along that. This one has some eggs in it. And go back to the fin. And there you go. Now you got a perch fillet. There you go. Now you saw how to clean bluegills, how to clean perch. The other species that you catch aren't much different than that, but now you got some nice fillets that you can take home and eat, and you had a good day ice fishing.
Well, now we know some of the steps to catch a fish and clean them differently, different techniques. We're almost ready to go out there on the ice and advance our fishing ability even more than it is now. But before we get out there, let's take some time and talk to our special guest, Danny Dornak. Danny, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, not too bad, thank you.
All right. So right off the bat, I want to ask, so how did you get involved in ice fishing, and what were your first memories of it?
Yeah, for sure. My dad definitely got me into ice fishing when I was a kid. He was taking me out there before I could even walk. He would have my mom bring me out in my car seat, and he'd bring me out there. And yeah, I always thought it was fun to try to become like a better fisherman than he was. So every day we went out, it was like a tournament between me and him. So I'd always want to beat him. And then I started fishing more tournaments when I started getting away from beating the old man. And then a group came around on Facebook actually called Ice Junkie Outdoors, and they're also a huge part of what I do and why I do it, because I don't know, they're awesome guys, and they just want to get their name out there, and it's a fun time doing it for them.
So you can say more or less that you're an ice fishing prodigy.
Absolutely.
And you're proud of that, I'm sure. And what would you tell any of those of us who aren't so much ice fishing prodigies but want to get out there and get even experience in it or take it to the next level? What can we do?
Definitely just be safe. If you're not aware of what you guys are doing, or if you haven't done it much, just make sure you go with a buddy or have some rope with you or your ice picks or something like that. That's definitely the first step of getting on the ice. And then the second step is just basic fishing, using tip-ups, using shiners, and just fishing weed lines and just having fun with your friends. That's the basic part of ice fishing.
Could you tell us a little bit more about tip-ups and other techniques and what you use out there?
Yeah, absolutely. A tip-up is a set line basically it's just like a trap, a fish trap. You drill a hole, put your set line out, and then you can space them out 30, 40 feet and get more lines in the water. You can allow, in Wisconsin, you're allowed 3 per person. So normally you go tip-up fishing, you put 3 tip-ups out, you get a nice little spread. And then with those tip-ups, you're not always having to watch them, basically. You don't have to keep your eye on them at all times. It basically tells you, hey, I have a fish, come get me. A tip-up, come get the flag. So that's basically the art of tip-up fishing. That's it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So compare your favorite moments and what you like about ice fishing compared to regular just open water fishing.
Well, definitely the camaraderie of being able to have 20 people in one spot on the ice is my favorite part about it. You can't put 20 people in a boat. It's hard to fish with a bunch of people on your favorite spot in a boat too, because usually your grandpa's going to get mad at you if you didn't get everybody to your spot. So ice fishing is everyone's on the same spot usually. Everyone can drive right up to each other or walk right up to each other. And it's a lot easier for people that don't have boats or don't have a lot of money. You can drive or walk out onto the ice, and you can go anywhere on the lake usually, as long as it's safe and the ice allows you to.
Now, what advice would you give for people looking out just to go catch big fish compared to not wanting to catch little fish? Is there any advice to where you should go or certain ideas on that.
Yeah, most definitely. If you can, follow the bait in the lake. If you know how to follow your bait fish, follow big perch, big bluegills is a good way to target big trophy species in the lakes down here in Wisconsin. The best way to also fish for them is big baits. You can't be afraid to put an 8-inch bluegill on a tip-up to catch a big pike or something like that. You can't always be using the small things, and you can't be using what the dude right next to you is using. You always got to think outside of the box and try to figure out what those fish haven't seen, not what they've seen 1,000 times.
Right, it makes sense. What are some of your goals going forward now with your career with ice fishing, and what would you like to do? Maybe teach other people, or as far as your own personal goals?
Most definitely. I would love to get my own guide business up and rolling and have a full-time guide business instead of a part-time guide business. I'd love to be able to do that, and I'd love to be able to teach people, not just show, put people on fish. I want to be able to show people exactly what they need to do to be able to catch fish. Also, I guess another goal is just not break the bank while doing it.
Right.
It costs a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for instance, let's say if we go out there, next chance we could get, what lake would we go to specifically, or where would we go? I mean, you went out there and we tried to catch some fish.
Let's head out to, let's say, Big Cedar in Washington County, and you'd find the first weed line you could in like 15 feet of water, set lines with shiners on them, and you'd catch pike and bass and maybe walleyes all day long, and it'd be a great time.
I'm all for catching pikes and bass all day long. There's no question about it. With that being said, when it's not winter, during the nicer months, summertime, what do? You're out there fishing anyway, but
Absolutely.
But you're looking for the ice fishing. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. When I'm out there in summertime, I'm usually marking spots down in the summertime, as I'll come back here in the winter to catch these fish. I'm not usually like, oh, I'm having a great day, I'm going to stay right here. It's like, oh, I'm going to go, all right, there's fish here, I'm going to move here to make sure there's fish over here as well. Or another thing is on the GPSs that we have available to us these days, you can drive around in a boat in the summertime and you can just watch your maps. And that's all you need to do is watch your maps. And everything will be literally, it'll tell you if there's a log on the bottom, laying on the bottom. Wow. It'll say, there's a log right here. You can see it visually. You come back to that in wintertime, and it's a lot of structure fishing in winter. They like the warmer water by structure. So then you find those logs in the winter or in the summer with your boat, and to come back in the winter time, and then that's kind of how I use my GPSs to my advantage in the summer for winter fishing. Wow.
So with that technology, I mean, when you were growing up, you probably didn't use a lot of it.
Absolutely not.
But can you compare that to now and how much it's helped advance?
Oh man, it's crazy. I can think back when we were a kid. There was no fish ID on the boat. You just drive around and throw your bobbers in the weeds and hope to get bites. But now you can drive around and you can go over a spot and you can tell yourself that there's fish there or not. You'll know if it's worth fishing. So you can it definitely helps out a lot on catching fish and not wasting as much time looking for those fish.
Right. So it's all about time and strategy at that point.
Absolutely.
You can better garner that with this technology. And what's the normal amount of time you spend out there on the lake in any given time? It could be a long time, right?
Oh yeah, sun up to sundown if you're fishing with me for sure. But a lot of other guys will just fish what they call the prime time hours. It depends on what species you're fishing for. But like if we're talking walleye fishing, a lot of guys will just go out at 4 in the morning and fish until 8 for the sunrise bite, or go out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and fish until 8 as well, just for the the sunset bite. It's a lot of time and day kind of things for some people.
Right. So you spend most of your time out there as much as possible. And if there are some average anglers out there, what advice could you give them on maybe going forward if maybe they aren't as professional?
For sure. Maps. I'm going to say look at your maps, watch like I said, your GPS. If you have that available to you, use your GPS. And then also just Google. If you look on Google, every lake will tell you how many fish they've stocked, or if they've done tagging surveys and stuff like that. They'll give you numbers of what kind of fish are in that lake. So if you're looking to catch yellow perch and you look up the data on it and they say they've only tagged 50 yellow perch in the last 10 years, I wouldn't recommend going to fish the perch out there.
Right, 100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. We appreciate all the advice. And we thank you so much for your time here today.
Yeah, no
Thanks
problem.
for coming and talking ice fishing with me. I appreciate it. And with that being said, these tips about ice fishing will be really helpful to any angler out there trying to increase their ability to become a better ice fisherman. Well, that's all the time we have on today's episode of the Ins and Outs of Ice Fishing. I hope this episode has increased your knowledge so that when you get out there in the lake and you know exactly what to look for and catch as far as the fish anytime now into the future. Thanks again. I'm your host, Bert Lauderdale, and we'll see you out there on the ice.